Hi, so in this video what we're gonna go over is few features that you probably are not familiar with and that can be pretty useful in Unreal Engine. I decided to pick these 5 because I haven't heard about them much or almost at all. Some of them I just discovered by myself, so I just wanted to share with you a few interesting stuff that you can do in Unreal. So first let's go with instanced struct. What you can do in Unreal is create a structure. Let's name it item data. It's going to be a similar example as from one of my previous videos. And let's say we have some data in here. Let's do a boolean and we can have some other data type here. What we can do is let's create a blueprint here. I'm going to create an actor. I'm going to open it up. I'm also going to put this actor in the world just so we can see. So let's create a new variable and let's name it instanced struct and let's find the data type. So what instance struct is basically kind of like a struct that can hold any type of struct. So kind of like a generic version of a struct. So what we can do then is place in here, let's say we want our item data. And now what we can do is get this struct. Let's type get instance struct value. And we can extract basically any type of struct from here. So I can type item data. And if the value is correct, we are going to be able to print something in here. So for example, if let's say we set data struct to item data, we can do 5. Let's compile and let's click play. We can see we get 5. Even though we haven't defined this instance struct to be the specific item data, we did define it in here, and then we basically extracted it. So one example that I gave before is, let's say you have an item and you have a generic interface function for use item. This function can take as an input instance struct, and now you can use this generic use item to pass any type of data, and depending in which item object you are, it's going to be processed differently. So if it's like a consumable item, you can break that data and get the data in here. And with the same function you can also go in maybe like a weapon item, and then you can have weapon data and break that, or maybe you have some third thing like a throwable item or something, and then you can have a throwable data struct. So there is some interesting uses that you can use for this. And just as an example, if I create a structure, let's do weapon data, and we can do something like this. Let's see, we have 2 integer, maybe this is like ammo or something. Let's save this. So now if you put this to weapon data, and we can put ammo to maybe 2 or something, and we try to play, you can see it's not printing. That's because we went into the not valid territory because we are not breaking item data. So then what we have to do is break, and we need weapon data. And now if we plug in ammo, we get the print of 2. So pretty interesting, something that I started using when I figured it out. And yeah, hopefully it's also useful for you. Next thing that we have is disable nodes. So there is an interesting thing that you can do if you go to editor preferences and type, let's do disable. Explicit, I think it's explicit something. Allow explicit impure node disabling, so enable this. And now I'm just gonna disable or delete all of this. Okay, let's go to third person, blueprints, and let's do character. So let's say that when you package the game, you have some nodes that you don't want to work when the game is packaged. So maybe they're like a testing nodes, or there's some nodes that just like for development only. What you can do is select few of the nodes, right click, and you have these extra options here, which is disable, do not compile, which is good if you have some testing temporary nodes that you maybe want to use in the future, but you're not using right now or stuff like that. But you also have this development only button. Now, if I click on this, you're gonna see it says development only. So similar thing that you get when you type print string, and you get this by default here. You can do it on your own nodes. Now this is camera input, so if I click play, I can still do it. I can still move my camera, but what I can do also is disable, do not compile, which basically means now I'm moving my mouse, but nothing's happening. What I did is basically said these nodes are not gonna be compiled even in the editor. So I'm basically disable them completely. So let's enable them. Pretty useful. I usually use it when I have some like tests, so maybe this can never fail, or if it fails I want to get something, so maybe I have a print here. Now print all errors by default, but maybe I have something complicated here, so if it casts, maybe I want to have a, I don't know, for loop that goes over some data and then does stuff, and I want it to be editor only. I can just do development, and now even this is not going to be compiled for the final package game. So pretty useful. The third thing is diffing blueprints. If I go to another project, so this is a plugin of mine, I have it on GitHub, so that way I can get an example of diffing blueprints. If let's say I go into my player controller and let's go to set and revision control. So first you're going to have to connect your revision control to Unreal, but when you connect it, what you can do in blueprints is go to diff against dpot, and what this does is shows you your project states, the current that is currently on your machine, and also whatever is on GitHub or Perforce or any other source control, and you can see the differences between them. So right now everything is white, meaning all of the variables and nodes are the same. But let's say, for example, I delete this node to asset diff. So maybe I forgot what I deleted. I want to bring it back. I can go in here and I can see, hey, okay, I deleted this node. And I can even Control C here and Control V, and I can actually copy paste it from there. Pretty nice. You can use it to see what you changed. Maybe you changed something yesterday, you forgot exactly what you changed, so you want to update yourself. Maybe you're working on a problem for multiple days, so you want to see what are all the things that you did. There is a bunch of uses for diffing your blueprints. The third thing is maybe something that you covered at some point, but the third thing is having editor-only components and also macros. So if I create a component, let's say actor, so maybe this is your, usually I use this for components that are for debug. Maybe I attach it to the character, and then this debug component has some inputs that I can easily press, let's say F1, and do some type of debugging. So if you have a component, you have this is editor only, and this basically means when you cook your project, this this component is not going to be cooked, and this is really nice because I don't want to package and send my debug component with my production project, basically. Also, if you are using macros, let's say we are using it for the actor, you can go to class defaults and type is editor only actor, and this also not gonna cook it in the final product. So really nice stuff. So with this combined with the disable nodes, you can basically have full control over the nodes and also objects and components that you want to cook or not cook or have in a final package project. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is overlap actors and also debug shapes. So let's say if I do left mouse button, so when I press left mouse, I want a sphere to appear in front of my character and check stuff. So usually how I see beginner people want to have AI that maybe attacks in front of them. They would create like a collision in here, and then they would use this collision to check stuff. And this collision is gonna always exist, and it's not the nicest. But they just basically want it for one frame to check if something is in front and destroys and deal damage and stuff like that. Easier thing that you can do is do overlap actors. And you can do capsule, box, sphere. So let's say we want to sphere overlap actors. And this is just gonna spawn a sphere for one frame, and let's do ignore, and let's do self. So we're gonna ignore self. I'm gonna create a sphere in front of me. So we have a sphere position and sphere radius. So for radius, let's do 40. And for sphere position, I'm gonna take actor location, and I'm also gonna take forward vector, and I'm just gonna multiply my forward vector by, I don't know, 50 or something. I just want to spawn it in front instead of directly on my character, and I'm just gonna combine this. Okay, and then we can do make array, and let's say we only want to hit world static objects, so we can even test it in the level. And now what we can do is let's do just a print. So we just check if we hit something or not. Okay, let's click play. Now if I left click, we have false, and now we have true because I'm hitting static object which is in front of me. Now for debugging purposes, this is not the best because we don't know even the shape of the sphere. We don't know how much in front of the character it is, stuff like that. So to fix that, what you can do is type debug, and then we can do sphere, and you can actually draw a debug sphere to help with debugging this sphere. And of course it's development only, so when the game is packaged, this is not going to be processed. So what I'm going to do is duration, let's say 1 second, thickness, we can do maybe 0.5, segments 12 is fine. Now we have radius and center, we can basically do this, and let's click compile, save, play. And now if I press left click, you can see it spawns a sphere where the other sphere would be that actually does the calculation. So pretty nice and pretty useful. I do not see many people use this, so I just wanted to point it out. You have this really nice combo for quickly spawning a sphere, testing the collision on it, and then drawing that sphere, so you have stuff for debugs. You can make exactly the sphere of the size, location, stuff like that. And of course it's not just sphere, you have anything basically that you want, so maybe capsule, capsule overlap, you can do box overlap, stuff like that. So you have a bunch of different options. So yeah, that's about it for my short list of stuff. Hopefully this helps you in developing.